Hi guys, my name's Doug. Welcome to my messy garage. In the last video, we were working on the mechanical assembly of the Langmuir Systems Crossfire Pro CNC plasma cutting table. In this week's video, we're going to continue working on that. We've got a few more little mechanical issues we've got to sort out, and then we got the electrical system that needs to be hooked up. Hopefully we can get this thing moving under its own steam today. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully you enjoy this one. Thanks for watching. According to the instructions, the next step that we need to do is put the leg braces on. This will have the added benefit of truing everything up. It'll make the legs square relative to the rails and frames. Now, you guys don't want to watch me installing 50 or 60 self-tapping screws in real time. So what I'll do is fire up the time-lapse camera here and record a little time-lapse of me doing it. I'll bring you back when I have the braces on. We've got the leg brackets mounted. I don't know how much of that is going to show up in the time lapse. You guys didn't have the best angle in the world for looking. It's kind of a tricky, getting everything lined up. Self-drilling, self-tapping screws tended to want to walk a little bit. I had to be careful, otherwise the brackets would end up kind of scooting off in the wrong direction. That's about the hardest part of this. Having those bar clamps that are on the floor down there sure made a big difference. Next step is going to be mounting the electronics enclosure. It goes on the back left leg, I believe. I haven't looked at the instructions for that step yet, so that might change. I also plan on mounting the laptop stand for the front corner here so that you can drive the boat from there. And one trick that I do know of, I've heard of people having problems with this, there's an electrical isolator, basically a plastic shim that has to go between the computer box there and the leg of the machine so that the computer box doesn't get hit with the high voltage arc off of the plasma cutter. Let me get staged here and I'll shoot a little time lapse of me mounting the box and come back and explain what's next. One thing we want to do before we start bolting this onto the machine, I've purchased the optional torch height control system for this plasma cutter, and what that does is if your metal is a little bit warped, the tip of the plasma cutter will go closer and further away as you're cutting, and torch height control senses the voltage that's being used to create the arc, and I think it is the further you go away, the more voltage, the closer you go, the less voltage that's necessary to create the cutting arc. And this module here is capable of reading through this filter box what that tip voltage is and adjusting the Z-axis or up and down accordingly. But since I don't really want to be taking the cover off of this thing constantly, now that we've got the cover off to mount it onto the machine, it's probably a good time to plug in this little box. Once this is plugged in and everything's powered up and hooked up, the fire control software that runs the CNC machine will automatically detect that this board is present, and it will enable all of the software features that work with the torch height control system. The Razorweld 45 plasma cutter that I purchased, I also got from Langmuir Systems, and one of the reasons that I went with that is it's basically plug and play. They've got it set up to work with the torch height control. Anyways, on to the time lapse that we're going to do while we mount this thing, and I'll bring you back once we've got it all attached. One little warning that I've seen listed on the forums a few times and also came with my box. A little bag of screws here, stainless steel screws, and it says that I'm supposed to replace the thumb screws on all the stepper motors to these stainless screws. The problem I had was, when I did that, the stainless screws weren't long enough. Down here on the control box, you can see the thumb screws are in. The DB9 connectors, or D sub 9, or whatever you want to call them, are fully seated. They seem to be doing a good job with the factory thumb screws. I'm not real impressed with how tight this Y connector is on here. I'd much rather run the cable underneath the unit and come out here and go in. You know, another 6 inches of cable on there, or even 12 inches of cable, would be really appreciated. This, on the other hand, is kind of annoying. Although I guess it has to swing back and forth, so having a little more cable there probably wouldn't be a bad idea. But cable's expensive, and this is a fairly economically priced CNC machine. Well guys, that was kind of interesting. I must have fought with this thing for, a good hour. I just couldn't get the software to connect to the unit. I have no idea why. I just kept trying, uninstall drivers, reinstall drivers, uninstall the software, reinstall the software, and I'm not even 100% sure what I did to get it to start working, but as you can see, we are connected up here now, and we're moving under our own steam. The Y-axis couplers are not tightened up yet, so they won't move the Y-axis at all, but the X-axis definitely moves. Let's try the Z. Ho, the Z-axis works too. We've got some movement. It's moving under its own steam. So next step's going to be tightening up the Y-axis couplers, and that's not terribly exciting stuff. It's just a couple of little grub screws I got to tighten up. So let me get that done, and I'll bring you back and we'll see if we can get this thing to move. Maybe run the break-in program and just kind of run back and forth a little bit. That'd be kind of cool to see it moving under its own steam. Well guys, I think we're going to end it here. We've got it moving under its own steam. It's not quite perfect yet. I tried running the break-in program, and for some reason the X-axis doesn't seem to want to move all that well. But yeah, when I jog, it works just fine. That's jogging at about 100 inches, which generally speaking is kind of the speed you cut thinner material at. Y-axis, again, at 100 inches. So we haven't got everything working perfect just yet. I am very happy that things are moving. A lot of progress that's been made. Thanks a lot for stopping by and checking this out. Greatly appreciated. If you've got this far in the video, can you throw me a thumbs up? And if you like what you're seeing from Doug's Messy Garage, why don't you subscribe to the channel, ring that bell icon, and YouTube will let you know when I post new stuff. And we'll catch you in the next mess.